Alrighty guys, hello YouTube, how is it going? It is November 2016 and it just occurred to me that, well, it's a Sunday, I have absolutely nothing to do, so what better to do than to record a room tour? It has been since July, so about 4 months or so, since I recorded one, so I was like, screw it, let's do it. That rhymed, that was funny. Anyway, not much has changed honestly. I kind of debated doing this video because, you know, everything's still basically the same. But I mean, a couple things here and there have kind of changed, so I'll just kind of try to go through it as quick as possible. I'm not going to like point at every single little thing and be like, here's that and there's that. We're going to try not to do that, although I may still do it. We'll see. Anyway, of course, we have a guest appearance, my dog, which is Lucas. Hey, what's up, buddy? You licking your butt? Redo a room tour? Yeah, I know. Okay, so basically we're going to start, you know, just like we always do. Again, everything is mostly the same, in the same spot and all, but we're going to keep going anyway. So, of course, the door with jackets on it, that hasn't changed. Moving over here, we have a couple of other little things that I literally have not touched in quite a while, as you may be able to see. It's been a while since I've touched any of this stuff. So, yeah, there's that. Of course, we have my bookshelf here, which, you know, some of it is kind of just junk, and then some other stuff is pretty decent. Like, these 3 shelves are the best, I'd say. Up here, we just got some stuff, you know, nothing really spectacular. We got a router box up there that I haven't had a chance to put anywhere else. We got, you know, a Cord brochure from the dealership, a couple Hot Wheels, things like a little Macintosh keypad thing. So, yeah, and then just some other junk right up here. Nothing too spectacular. Moving down here, these 2 shelves are kind of like my Apple shrine, I guess. So, up here we have everything not really related to an iPhone, except, of course, we have an iPhone here. But other than that, you know, we got this little Steve Jobs thing. I've actually had this thing since 2011, so that's kind of interesting. If you go look at my really, really, really old room tours, you'll see this thing in there. It's kind of neat. Apple's not the same without you, Steve. Sorry to say, it's true. Of course, you know, we have things like an iPad here, first generation iPad, a bunch of boxes, other things. You got a few iPods here, Bluetooth mouse, that kind of stuff. Down here we have my iPhone shrine, so I do have an iPhone 7 box because, you know, my mom got an iPhone 7. And then a new addition is also this blue iPhone 5C, which I recently got from my friend Chris, so that's pretty neat. It works and everything. It's just, you know, here. And of course, a couple other 4S's, a 3GS, 3G, and an original iPhone, and a little iPod Shuffle. So yeah, that's that. Down here we have my non-smartphones. These are, well, mostly. Of course, we have a couple of smartphones over here. But, and then we have the Palm Pre. I guess that's a smartphone too. Most of these are my flip phones and stuff though. Most have a thick layer of dust because, again, I have not touched them in a long time, as you may be able to tell. They just kind of there. And then down there's just a bunch of books and stuff. Here is the dog bed, which, you know, he kind of has a choice. He prefers my bed because, you know, dogs. Anyway, moving on, we have a little plant here. Down here we have my dog's toys and stuff, which just occurred to me, this isn't on the floor, so how's my dog supposed to get it, the stuff? Well, I guess he's not. Anyway, moving on, we have a little air cleaner thing, you know, like a filtration unit, so tend to keep the dust down, or at least try. Here we have the mirror. Of course, this is into my closet, so let's go ahead and venture in. Now this is probably the biggest change in the room. My closet is now actually clean. It has not been this clean / empty in many years. So I've had stuff piled up in here for so long, but that is no more. Everything is now nice and neat. Of course, on this side we have my actual clothes, and then, you know, this used to be full of junk, like up to here. It was really bad. But now it's nice and clean. It's got a couple things in here. Pretty nice. So that's definitely a big change. Go ahead and turn that light off and close this up. Moving on over here, this used to be a little, like a printer stand. I actually used to have it over there a long time ago, I think. But I just figured to move it over here. It was kind of like a little laptop stand. As you may be able to see, I have a couple of laptops under there. But I don't really use it for that anymore. It's kind of use it as a place to put the fan when I go to sleep and, you know, pile random junk. But anyway, we got a few laptops under there. That's a bunch of junk in there. Those are my personal files. Little Swiffer, you know, stuff like that. Here's my Dell PowerEdge 2300 that has been sitting there for at least 2 or 3 years now. Haven't really used it. It just kind of sits there. It's kind of like a, you know, a placeholder for that space. Some things on the wall here. These have all been the same. Nothing has really changed. Still got to adjust that clock. Calendar, you know, all this stuff has been the same for years. Same with this up here. Just got a, you know, little license plate frame that I took off my car. But down here, of course, we have the bed, which again has been mostly the same. Not sure if I had this, you know, spread, but I don't know. Down here in the drawers, this is mostly just wires and crap. All this stuff is just junk that I haven't had a place to actually organize, or, you know, the time to actually organize, or the motivation rather. But yeah, that's that. If I need wire, it's probably in here. And then on this side of the bed is more like other stuff, like my toolkits and processors, RAM, hard drives, chargers for laptops, heat sinks, and then yeah, some other stuff like that. And then of course back here again, I don't touch any of that stuff, so it's been the same. Not really going to go over it. Again, same with this stuff. So on the side of the bed here we have the IKEA Malm storage chest thing. Again, it's full of crap. My room may look pretty neat, but you know, we got stuff like this everywhere. Just, you know, random pens, a screwdriver, that kind of stuff. Flash drives. And then down here, again, even more junk. Got some wires, microfiber cloths, a voltmeter, bunch of cables, some DDR4 RAM that I actually can't use. If anyone wants to buy this off me, let me know. I've debated selling it. Some other dongles and stuff, but that is about it for that. Here we just have my 9-foot lightning cable, so I can like use my phone in bed or whatever. I can use it across the room if I wanted to. So moving on down here, we just have a power supply box that I haven't bothered to move, and then just some alcohol, tissues, and that kind of stuff. And then just a power adapter there. So that's basically it. Now, of course, we're going to get to the best part of the room, my desk setup. So this has been, again, this has been in the same, I've had this desk since like 2013, I think. And yeah, it's never really moved from this spot. Just kind of the things around it have moved. But yeah, as you can see, still have my MacBook Pro in the same old setup. I got the 3 monitors. I did, however, get a new monitor. That is a new Asus monitor to replace the old one I had. And then, of course, I do have 2 Asus monitors. This is a 23-inch, though, 1080p. And this is a 21.5. Of course, again, the setup is flanked by my late 2013 MacBook Pro. It's, you know, the base 2.0 i7 Iris graphics model with 8 gigs of RAM. Been using this thing for almost 3 years now. Hasn't let me down. And I'm just going to keep using it until it doesn't do what I need it to do anymore. Of course, we have the Corsair Strafe RGB keyboard. Not sure if I had this in the last setup either. Probably, though. And then the Logitech G402 mouse with the Razer Specs mouse pad. Let me go ahead and take a seat. This office chair I've had forever, and it's definitely showing its age in places, but again, it does the job, so I'm not going to replace it until I have to. Then, of course, my headphones, which are the Audio-Technica ATH M50X. These are pretty nice, very comfortable, except when you're, you know, listening to stuff for 4 or 5 hours at a time. They can get a little uncomfortable, but they sound really good, and definitely worth the money. So that's cool. Over here, we just have my little corner setup, I guess. We have the little stand charger for my Apple Watch Series 1. So that's a new thing I got recently. Pretty nice watch, I like it. Of course, we have my iPhone 6 and then the Moto G4 Play. Have not decided if I'm going to do a video on this phone yet. I probably will at some point though. And then of course here we have my wallet and then my car key with my other keys and stuff. Well, key fob, I guess I should say. Then I have my camera, the Canon EOS Rebel T5 DSLR. It's kind of this, you know, the camera I just took these pictures with. Anyway, Then we have some microfibers back there, and then my phone, which is the 64 gig gold iPhone 6s, and I've been using this phone ever since launch day, ever since it came out, September 25th of 2015, and I have no plans to replace it because, again, it gets the job done. So, yeah. Back there behind the computer, we just have like a USB hub and then a mess of cables, as you might be able to see. This is actually a monitor stand, but it's perfect height for the laptop, so... yeah, as you can see, I use all the ports on my laptop, so you can suck it, Apple. Moving on, we have my charger, and then back there, the only thing worth mentioning really is just my WD 3TB external hard drive. Of course, I have a little Microsoft webcam on this monitor. Moving on to the other side of the desk over here, we just have my router. It's a Linksys WRT 1200AC, gets the job done. And then just a little camera under there. Moving over here, we have the WD My Passport Ultra. I just bought this. It's a 1TB external drive, just because I need more than one for some occasions. Water bottle, and then just, you know, the lamps and stuff. I have 2 lamps on each side of my desk with the Bose speakers. It just occurred to me that I missed all this stuff, but this is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a bunch of stuff, you know, kind of like a battery, some headphones, old camera, that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's that. Moving back over to this stuff, we have a little trash can there. There's another power strip under there. Then we have my subwoofer, a little pillow so I can prop my feet up, and then there is my Sony amp, or receiver rather, which is what I use for my speaker system. And it's nice because I can plug this computer into that, and I can also plug my custom build into that and go through the same headphones, so that's nice. And I just switch it with that remote over there. Pretty neat. Of course, again, more power strips, more cables and things. There's a MagSafe power adapter. Over here, we just have a bunch of junk, and then under the junk is a 2006 MacBook. I should probably find a better place for that. There is a Dell Inspiron 11, which is actually going to my friend sometime later today. He actually bought it off me, so I wasn't using it anyway, so I was like, why not? And then, of course, down here we have my custom build PC, which is something I actually am not really using lately, but I'm not going to get rid of it, because every time I do get rid of it, I end up building another one. So, yeah. Anyway, it has the Core i7 4790K, 16 gigs of DDR3 RAM, and I actually swapped my graphics cards with Chris because he needed Hackintosh support. So I gave him my 970 in return for his GTX 1060. So that's cool. So I got a new graphics card in there. And then, of course, on top of it are just the peripherals I use with it when I play games, which is all I really use it for. This is my old Cooler Master keyboard that I got a few years ago. And then, of course, same story with this mouse, the Roccat Savu. And then, of course, just an Xbox 360 controller, just for those, you know, just in case moments of gaming. But anyway, yeah, there's that, and then just a Vornado fan over there. So that really sums it up. This video is 13 minutes, not too bad. My room tours are usually longer than that, so I think I did alright. But that just about covers it. Don't think I missed anything. And then, of course, well, except for that, that's my blue microphone with a stand. But yeah, that's kind of beside the point. Anyway, I would like to thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys later.